Satoru Gojo. Satoru Gojo is classified as a special grade sorcerer because his existence alone destabilizes the balance of the Jujutsu world. His power is not defined by a single technique, but by the interaction of multiple systems that operate simultaneously with near-perfect efficiency. At the core of Gojo's strength is the Limitless Technique, an inherited ability of the Gojo clan that manipulates space itself. The most basic application of Limitless is Infinity, a passive effect that places an infinite series of divisions between Gojo and anything approaching him. This means attacks never actually reach his body. Instead, they slow down endlessly as they approach, creating the illusion of invulnerability. This is not a barrier or shield. It is a spatial phenomenon that exists constantly, unless Gojo consciously disables it. Infinity is supported by Gojo's 6 eyes, a rare ocular trait that allows him to perceive cursed energy at an atomic level. The 6 eyes drastically reduce cursed energy consumption by optimizing output with extreme precision. As a result, techniques that would normally exhaust a sorcerer can be maintained indefinitely by Gojo. This combination removes the usual stamina limitations that define high-level combat in Jujutsu. Gojo's offensive abilities are extensions of the same spatial control. Blue creates a forced vacuum by amplifying negative space, pulling everything toward a focal point. Red is the reversal of that process, generating a violent repulsive force by applying positive cursed energy. When these two opposing forces are combined, they produce Hollow Purple, a technique that erases matter along its path by collapsing attraction and repulsion into a single destructive event. Hollow Purple does not explode or cut, it deletes.
Oh, okay.
Gojo's domain expansion, Unlimited Void, overwhelms targets with infinite information. Anyone caught inside experiences all actions, thoughts, and perceptions simultaneously, rendering them unable to move or react. Even brief exposure can incapacitate special grade curses. Unlike most domains, Gojo can activate and deactivate it with extreme control, minimizing collateral damage and avoiding the typical drawbacks of domain usage. What elevates Gojo beyond raw power is that he understands the structure of Jujutsu itself. He knows how techniques interact, how domains function, and where the system's limits are. This allows him to fight efficiently rather than desperately. In the modern era, Gojo is treated less as a combatant and more as a natural disaster contained in human form. Suguru Geto. Suguru Geto is classified as a special grade sorcerer due to the scale, flexibility, and long-term threat potential of his curse technique rather than raw destructive output alone. His power grows exponentially over time, making him uniquely dangerous within the Jujutsu system. Geto's curse technique, Curse Spirit Manipulation, allows him to absorb and control cursed spirits once they have been weakened. After exercising a curse, he can ingest it and store it within his body, later summoning it at will. These spirits retain their individual abilities, intelligence, and curse techniques, effectively giving Geto access to an expanding arsenal of powers without needing to develop them himself. The danger of this technique lies in accumulation. Unlike sorcerers who are limited by personal output, Geto can stockpile hundreds or thousands of curses. Each absorbed spirit increases his overall combat options, battlefield control, and strategic flexibility. Over time, this allows him to overwhelm opponents through sheer variety rather than direct confrontation. Geto can deploy curses individually or in coordinated groups, using weaker spirits as distractions while reserving stronger ones for decisive attacks. He can also fuse curses together or deploy them as disposable weapons, sacrificing them to trigger large-scale effects. This makes him exceptionally effective in both urban environments and mass casualty scenarios. One of the most critical aspects of Geto's ability is that absorbed curses can retain domain expansions or special techniques of their own.
You're not my type.
This allows Geto to pressure opponents with multiple high-level techniques in succession, something no normal sorcerer can replicate. Even elite sorcerers struggle against him because they must constantly adapt to unknown abilities. Geto's strength is amplified by his ideology and planning. He does not fight impulsively. He selects battles that maximize his advantage and avoids unnecessary losses. His willingness to sacrifice curses without hesitation removes emotional limitations that most sorcerers have, allowing him to treat combat as pure resource management. As a special grade, Geto represents a systemic threat rather than an individual one. Left unchecked, his technique allows him to build an army capable of destabilizing entire regions. This long-term escalation potential is the primary reason he is classified at the highest level. Yuki Tsukumo. Yuki Tsukumo is classified as a special grade sorcerer because her curse technique directly alters the fundamental rules governing physical interaction, allowing her to ignore conventional limitations of mass, force, and durability. Her technique, Star Rage, grants her control over virtual mass. Rather than increasing her physical size, Yuki assigns overwhelming mass to her body or to Shikigami under her control. This mass does not affect her mobility, but drastically increases the force behind her movements. As a result, even simple actions such as punches or kicks carry catastrophic impact far beyond what her frame would suggest. The defining property of Star Rage is that the mass applied is conceptual rather than literal. This allows Yuki to strike with enough force to damage special grade cursed spirits without suffering recoil or structural damage to her own body. Conventional defenses fail against this because durability in Jujutsu combat is not designed to counter infinite or near infinite mass applied instantaneously. Yuki's Shikigami, Garuda, functions as an extension of her technique. She can assign mass to Garuda independently, allowing it to act as a crushing weapon, a binding tool, or a mobile impact projectile. By manipulating Garuda's mass mid-combat, Yuki can alter the trajectory and lethality of her attacks without telegraphing intent. What elevates Yuki beyond a pure physical powerhouse is her theoretical understanding of cursed energy and souls. She is one of the few sorcerers who actively studies the root cause of curses and the relationship between human emotion and cursed energy generation. Her research focuses on eliminating curses at the source rather than endlessly exercising their results. Yuki's combat approach reflects this mindset. She does not rely on technique variety or complex setups. Instead, she applies overwhelming force with precision, ending fights quickly to avoid prolonged exchanges. This efficiency makes her especially dangerous against opponents who rely on endurance, regeneration, or layered defenses. As a special grade, Yuki represents a type of threat that cannot be mitigated through conventional strategy. Her technique bypasses durability, her attacks are decisive, and her understanding of the system places her among the few sorcerers capable of reshaping the future of Jujutsu itself. Yuta Okkotsu. Yuta Okkotsu is classified as a special grade sorcerer because his cursed energy output, technique versatility, and combat scalability place him outside all standard grading metrics used by Jujutsu Society. Yuta possesses an abnormally large reserve of cursed energy, exceeding that of most elite sorcerers. This is not merely a matter of quantity. His cursed energy is dense and volatile, allowing him to reinforce his body, weapons, and techniques at a level that overwhelms special grade curses through raw output alone. Even without advanced technique usage, this baseline strength makes him a lethal combatant. The defining element of Yuta's power is his connection to Rika, a manifested curse spirit bound to him through an unresolved emotional curse. Rika functions as both an external cursed energy battery and an autonomous combat entity. She can physically restrain opponents, block attacks, and provide Yuta with immediate access to massive cursed energy reinforcement. While fully manifested, Rika elevates Yuta's combat presence to a level comparable to top-tier special grades. Yuta's curse technique allows him to copy other curse techniques after meeting specific conditions. Once copied, these techniques can be stored and deployed later, giving Yuta access to abilities outside his original skill set. This fundamentally breaks the traditional limitation that a sorcerer is bound to a single innate technique. In practice, this means Yuta's fighting style adapts rapidly to the opponent, making prolonged engagements increasingly disadvantageous. In addition to technique copying, Yuta demonstrates advanced reverse curse technique proficiency. He can heal himself and others with high efficiency, restoring critical injuries during combat. This ability removes the usual attrition factor from battles and allows Yuta to sustain high-risk engagements that would cripple other sorcerers. Yuta's domain expansion, while not fully explored in detail, is implied to be a decisive finishing tool rather than a prolonged battlefield control domain. His overall combat pattern prioritizes overwhelming force, rapid adaptation, and decisive resolution rather than extended exchanges. What cements Yuta's special grade status is not any single ability, but the way his powers stack without conflict. High cursed energy, external amplification, technique copying, healing, and domain capability all operate simultaneously. This creates a sorcerer who scales upward with the threat level of the opponent, rather than being capped by a predefined ceiling. Kenjaku. Kenjaku is classified as a special grade sorcerer because his threat level is defined by systemic manipulation rather than individual combat power.
Satoru. Huh?
His abilities allow him to control bodies, techniques, and historical outcomes across centuries, placing him beyond the scope of conventional sorcerer classification. Kenjaku's innate technique allows him to transplant his brain into other bodies, overriding the host's consciousness while retaining their physical traits and curse techniques. This grants him functional immortality and the ability to select vessels that best suit his objectives. Each body switch preserves his accumulated knowledge, experience, and strategic foresight, making him progressively more dangerous over time. By inhabiting Suguru Geto's body, Kenjaku gains access to cursed spirit manipulation. One of the most flexible and scalable techniques in Jujutsu. Unlike Geto, Kenjaku applies this technique with centuries of planning experience, using curses not just as weapons but as infrastructure for large-scale operations. This allows him to manage curses, sorcerers, and civilians as interconnected components of a single system. Kenjaku also possesses mastery over barrier techniques, which he uses to manipulate space, restrict movement, and control information flow. His barriers are designed not for direct combat advantage, but for containment, delay, and psychological pressure. This makes him especially effective at neutralizing stronger opponents indirectly rather than confronting them head-on. A defining aspect of Kenjaku's power is his ability to orchestrate events that force evolution within the Jujutsu world. He engineers situations where sorcerers are pushed beyond their limits, producing stronger techniques, domains, and cursed entities. The culling game is a direct application of this philosophy, functioning as a large-scale experiment rather than a simple battle royale. Kenjaku's strength is not measured by how he wins fights, but by how he ensures outcomes occur regardless of individual victories or losses. He builds redundancy into every plan, allowing failure at the micro level while succeeding at the macro level. This makes him nearly impossible to stop through direct opposition alone. As a special grade, Kenjaku represents a long-term existential threat. His ability to persist across generations, accumulate techniques, and reshape the structure of Jujutsu society places him in a category where traditional combat-focused rankings no longer apply. Ryomen Sukuna. Ryomen Sukuna is classified as a special grade sorcerer because his existence represents an extreme outlier in cursed energy density, technique lethality, and domain supremacy. He is not measured against modern sorcerers, but against the theoretical upper limits of Jujutsu itself. Sukuna possesses an abnormal volume and refinement of cursed energy that exceeds even elite special grades. His output is not only vast but highly controlled, allowing him to execute techniques with surgical precision or overwhelming force depending on intent. This control enables him to fight efficiently rather than explosively, conserving power while maintaining dominance. His innate technique revolves around slashing attacks that manifest instantly within a defined space. Cleave adjusts its cutting power automatically based on the target's cursed energy and durability, ensuring lethal efficiency against both sorcerers and cursed spirits. Dismantle functions as a raw cutting attack that does not require adaptive scaling, allowing Sukuna to carve through environments, barriers, and opponents indiscriminately. These attacks do not travel in a conventional sense. They occur directly within the target space, making evasion unreliable.
はい。
Sukuna's understanding of curse techniques extends beyond instinct. He demonstrates advanced knowledge of Jujutsu mechanics, including binding vows, barrier construction, and technique optimization. This allows him to analyze and exploit enemy abilities mid-combat, often neutralizing complex techniques after minimal exposure. His domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine, fundamentally violates the standard rules of domain construction. Instead of forming a closed barrier, it manifests directly into the environment, applying guaranteed hit slashing attacks across a wide radius. This removes the primary weakness of most domains, which is confinement and counter-domain deployment. Targets cannot escape by breaking a barrier because no barrier exists. Malevolent Shrine continuously attacks everything within its range for the duration of activation, shredding both living targets and terrain. The domain's open structure allows Sukuna to extend its effective radius while maintaining lethality, turning entire sections of the battlefield into execution zones.
不満水。
Sukuna also possesses an advanced reverse curse technique, enabling rapid regeneration of fatal injuries. This removes the possibility of attrition-based victory against him and allows aggressive risk-taking without long-term consequences. Combined with his durability and awareness, this makes landing a decisive blow nearly impossible. What defines Sukuna as a special grade is not adaptability or growth potential, but completeness. His techniques, domain, regeneration, and cursed energy output function at peak efficiency simultaneously. There are no visible gaps in his combat profile and no reliance on preparation or external conditions.